Tuesday morning. It's just after 6 o'clock. Good morning. This is cliffcentral.com, and you got me, and you got Lebang, who is in a is that a neon? I mean, like if you walked outside in that, the cyclists and the motorbike people and the cars, they would know it was you, and they would stay the hell away. I mean, you'd see. I think the Hubble Space Telescope just called and said they can see the color of your jacket. Are you cold, Lebang? Are you cold? Is this what's happening?
I'm freezing. I'm freezing. Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry.
You hit the nail on the head.
Sometimes I pulled out two really horrible tops, and I promised I'd wear shitty tops on a Friday, but I'm already out of them. Well, the obviously ugly ones. This one's not so great either. Yesterday, someone said to me, "That's yellow, but it's a shit yellow." I was like, "All right, thanks. Thanks, that's great."
Well, I guess it's my turn today. As you can see, so it's prime shitty yellow. It's it actually just doesn't know what kind of yellow it wants to be. It's like, I'm bright, but I'm loud, yellow. But I'm irritating, but I'm mustardy. But don't look at me. It's a lot.
No, sure. How have you been? What's been happening?
Very little sleep has been happening. We are reaching like a full month now soon of baby's life. So yeah, it's that phase of like not overeating. What's it called? Like cluster feeding, where like all she wants to do is eat. That is it. I barely have any time to like sit and get any work done because she's just like, I'm hungry. So I'm trying to figure out like feeding and working at the same time. I'm pumping milk like it's running out of fashion, and things like that. I am pretty much a factory.
Yeah, you're a big human feeding factory. That's your entire job. That's it.
Right now, it's my main priority. It's at the top of my CV, and it'll probably be my life for the hopefully next year or so. But other than that, sure. I'm good. Everything is well. Kids are growing, which is nice. It's getting a little bit hotter, like a little bit, which is even better. And I'm just like ready for spring now, like ready.
I mean, in some ways, you kind of worked this out because being pregnant, very heavily pregnant, like the 8-9 month part in the middle of summer is really shitty. So you timed this very well. You could at least be doing this while it's cold. It's better.
I'll take credit. I'll take all that credit. Yes, I did time this, and this was part of my big life plan, Gareth. So yeah.
You see, you had plans. We should have listened to you in the beginning when you promised you'd had plans. You're one of those people. Nothing happened. I'm good. I mean, I can't complain. Everything's good. Also, I didn't sleep very well, but not because I was breastfeeding. So,
could have fooled me. Why didn't you sleep?
Yeah, I know. Them titties. I'm trying to get them working. But, anyway, I've got one of those days ahead of me where if I'm not awake and I'm not paying attention today, I'm going to be in big trouble. I've got lots of meetings and starts at 9 and it ends at 5, 6. So it's going to be a busy day. Yeah. So I better pull my shit together. Yeah. There's no messing around today. So we'll have to see how it goes. Anyway, so I know you can't wait to do this. So let's jump straight into it. Banyana. And you wanted to talk about them because they won the Women's African Cup of Nations, which I didn't even know was a thing until I saw it the other day and we talked about it. And then you said to me, "Oh, no, but they're fantastic and you love them." And turned out that just like Mash and Leanne yesterday on the show, you didn't actually watch them because you don't know any of their names, coaches' names.
Yeah, so...
I know you prepared this time around, and you probably written down some things, but you didn't watch their final game, did you?
I absolutely did not watch their final game, and nor am I here to claim that I did. Just like last week, all I did was say that Banyana are really good. That's all I said. I didn't say I watched their games or I know any of them, nor am I going to pull up a website where I'm going to read anything. Here's my conclusion, Gareth. During this time where everything is so shite, can we just, for a moment, take a step back and just celebrate Banyana's win? Look around us. Everything's just like, it's kind of dire, So let's stop. Breathe in, breathe out, and be like, that is a nice thing that is happening for the country right now. And that's my stance on that. So, one, I am extremely happy that they won, because how's that for timing? Like, we're just speaking about this last week. You were kind of shitting on them. And I was like, dude, sure, nobody cares, but these girls are good. To prove my point, they win in the same week. So I'm back to promote them once again and say, well done, girls. Sure, Gareth still doesn't care. He probably won't at the end of this conversation. But kudos
They don't
to
need.
y'all.
Let's just be clear. They don't need my help, right? And they don't need my support. I mean, they'll get lots of support. There are lots of people who don't care about them who are hopping on the bandwagon now, pretending they do. So I'm just going to say that's great. If it makes those people who are liars and fakes, that makes them feel better to be doing that, that's absolutely fine. I'm not going to say you're one of them, Lebang. Yeah, there we go. There's some more of that false, like, oh, shame. It's like so patronizing. It's like, oh, shame the girls. I even did it. I saw it on the TV news last night. SABC One. She's like, oh my God, we're so excited for the girls. I was like, yo. If that ain't insulting, I don't know what is. The girls.
Gareth, did you see? Did you see Cyril was also speaking last night? And
did you watch him?
No. I'm counting on you. I'm counting on you to tell me what went down, because
please, I didn't watch him. No one watched him. Are you insane? Who watched him?
I'm sure somebody did.
You're crazy. You're crazy.
He must have said something. Come on, something important. I think he said something about solar, like we must all get solar power or something like that, or we must get generators or inverters. Because
so this is what I gleaned. I gleaned this from it, okay, but I didn't watch it because I had actually some stuff to do. So, in any case, it wouldn't be like earth-shattering stuff. Maybe our listeners are smart and they can fill in the gaps. But basically, I thought he was coming on to say, "Oh, guys, this Eskom thing is such a disaster. I'm so sorry. We fucked it up badly. And what can I do to forgive you? We'll give you at least half your tax money back because we owe it to you for fucking up so badly." Sure. But that didn't happen, obviously. So he said something about how the energy crisis is carrying. There's renewable energy. They're going to be launching a number of projects which will help to bring more energy about. Eskom, obviously, they're working on day and night. That was basically what he was saying, but no one really was taking any of it seriously. It's like when I called him Pala when I was on Instagram. I was like, it seems to me like Pala is going to talk to us this evening at 8. And then
that is new nickname.
Pala, yeah. I think so. Don't you think that's a good name for him?
Yeah, I guess, it's fitting to say the least. I would have gone somewhere along the lines of like Old Matras, or like, I don't know, Billionaire putting the country through shit. I don't know, but yeah, let's go for Pala.
Yeah,
he had a tough time this weekend in was it KZN? They were announcing the new, he suffered there. They do not like Cyril at all. Shame.
Tabo says Gareth is very old, Lebang, and kind of senile. He shits on everyone. Okay, all right. Correct. Well, you can say that about me. Jason says, I 1,000% agree with Lebang. Our sports stars have the power to unite this nation. Yeah, if you can actually name them. If they walked past you in the shops and you knew who they were, you'd maybe say sports stars. Just be careful how you throw that around, Jason Chapman, because it sounds to me like your standard for a sports star is very, very low. You and Lebang, because you're like, oh, it's so exciting. But I promise you, if any of the sports stars that you're talking about from the women's football team walked past you in the shops tomorrow, you'd go like, excuse me, do you know which section the underwear is? No.
It really sounds like you just don't like Banyana.
I have no problem. No, are you joking? I don't have any issue with them. And in fact, I was the one who brought up yesterday that they had won the Women's African Cup of Nations. So obviously I'm pleased they did. But I'm not going to pretend I have more than that going on, because that's where you start sounding like you are a faker. You're like, I love Bafana, I love Banyana, that team, the Go Girls, that stuff, that's fake.
Gareth, we don't know everything about everything, right? We may show interest in certain things. If I don't know even one player's name, it doesn't mean I can't like them. It doesn't mean I love them. every single player's name. I think you're a little bit mean to Mash yesterday. Sure, he was reading off the internet, but it's okay to like something even just a little bit. You know, you don't have to like it and know every single thing about it in order to like it. You know, it's 2022, Gareth. This is how things are going these days. We must allow people to enjoy things. In fact, let people enjoy things is my take
Okay,
on this.
go for it. I'm certain. What am I standing in the way of you enjoying things? No. But if I see you being fake ass about it, it's like those people who say, I love rap. You know, those people who go, I love rap music. And you're like, well, name a rap song. They're like,
Yeah, it's the term fake ass for me.
So Corona's Boring says they want to split Eskom into 3 entities. They'll probably put Eskom's debt on the national portfolio. Oh. Okay, so
Jeez.
rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic then. That's what they're doing. Anyway, I mean, listen, let's not focus on the negative stuff and the bad stuff. We can focus on the good. We can focus on any victory is a small victory is a victory. We'll take it. And we're happy about that.
Yes, there
So
we
let's
go.
take a look at some of the stuff that's happening in the world today, because there might just be something that really gets you excited this morning. Who knows, right, Lebang? I mean, it is almost the end of the month, payday. Woohoo! People love that.
Whoop,
That's
whoop.
good news.
Mm-hmm.
So you moved into a new place, and
Yes.
how's that going? Because that's always exciting, but also very annoying. Because if you've moved into a new place and you're still trying to find where everything belongs, and you're not sure where to put everything, it can get very irritating very quickly. Like, especially if you don't have all your stuff out of boxes yet, because that can be, you need stuff, especially in your case, like with kids and everything. You're like, look, where is that? In your case, the air fryer. Like and
Ha
subscribe,
ha ha.
everybody. Like and subscribe. But what if you couldn't find your air fryer? I mean, it's in a box somewhere. Have you managed to settle in? Is my question.
So the funny thing is that in that last week of June, I knew that on the 1st of July, I'm moving in, everything was done. I just didn't know when I'd be giving birth. So I'm banking on the fact that the 1st of July is the date I'm moving in. I'm in control. I'm gonna get in there, I'm gonna unbox, I'm gonna put up curtains. I had a plan, bro. This was like in the morning, cool. I get in the house, I start doing exactly that. Literally at like maybe 2 p.m., I start having contractions. I'm like, shit, this child's coming. So I didn't get to finish my plan of emptying things out and unboxing. By 7 p.m., I was at the hospital giving birth. Fast forward to like a week later. So yeah, she arrived on the day I moved in. And then everybody came, family came to help, blah, blah, blah. But I think now I know where every key is. I know how often to feed the koi fish that I inherited. I know how often to feed the birds that like basically live outside my bedroom, and things like that. So I inherited quite a couple of things, which is cool because like the people that used to live here, are like, oh, you can have this, you can have that, which is like, oh, awesome. But now I made this grand error in that first week because I'm busy with baby. I don't know how often to feed these fish, so I'm just like,
Oh,
yeah, dude. I'm
yeah.
Googling. I'm
My
busy.
my business partner, who you know, Rena, she moved into a place now a couple of years ago. It must be like maybe 6 or 7 years ago.
Mm,
And she moved into this place where they had these big koi ponds with these koi fish in them, but big, like
yeah,
monster. They were these things looked like they could swallow your arm, right? Scary looking fish. And when fish get
yeah.
that big, they really are terrifying. And obviously these were the pride and joy of the previous owners. But like
Yes.
she didn't know what to do with them. And they're quite valuable, and she tried to sell them. And the guy who was an expert said to her, you won't really make a lot of money if you sell them, but I'll find them a home for you. So she managed to clear the one pond out, but she kept
Mm,
the other one going with a few more. And it's such a nightmare with these things because the more like iffy the fish, and I don't know whether yours are like complicated or very fancy or whatever, but they need like a special power setup so that the water keeps filtering even when the load shedding happens. Then they need to eat
dude,
certain food. Someone special needs to come and clean the pond every week. It's a major
I'm
thing.
telling you,
She was looking at this going, are you kidding me? It's like thousands of rands every month to look after fish I didn't even
mm,
ask for.
it is borderline nightmarish. But I do blame myself because the previous owner was like, dude, I can take the fish There's somebody that wants them, and I'm like, girl, fish, I got this. I can do the fish thing.
Yeah.
Jeez
And
Louise.
the kids are interested in them for like a few days, right? But then
A while,
slowly
like,
they lose interest.
they get over it. Like my 8-year-old is like, oh, I can feed the fish every day. Whoop whoop. Now I have to remind him to feed the fish because he's so like tired of going there and having to give them like handfuls. And yes, there are these like iffy. There's a guy that has to come like once a month. I need to pay him to come to check if the fish are okay. He needs to bring me food. A tub of food is like $600. So I've basically inherited children. I've got more children that came with the house, but they are beautiful. I'll give you that. They are stunning. They are huge and just so cute. I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, no, like they are stunning. Like they're huge and shiny.
No. I find these things creepy and scary. Now I know there are going to be a whole lot of animal rights people are going to like, oh no, you guys can't say that. These fish are amazing. You're idiots because you don't appreciate them. Blah, 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 blah. All right, fine. Fair enough. Either you're a fish person or you're not. I am not. Sorry, not a fish person.
I'm forced to become one, but it's interesting. I mean, it's nice to take on new challenges. I just know that I won't last like until the end of the year. It's an unnecessary extra child that I now need to, put money aside from. Just like, I don't know. But
and it's who has extra money lying around? Like who has extra money for fish? Are you kidding me?
Fish.
No, not gonna happen, Lebang.
Like breadcrumbs. I can't just throw like I have to give them specific fish food, which costs way too much. So I'm just like, hey, I don't know anymore. So don't be surprised if you see me putting fish up for sale on Facebook Market or something, because I
can see it already.
I'll send you the link, Gareth.
I won't blame you. No. I'm all for you, like selling the fish. Do what you got to do. You go, girl. Don't you worry about it.
Yeah.
No one.
I think I might.
No one owes you, and you don't owe these fish. Just say bye, fishies. It's been nice to know you. Great game. Like it's been fun.
Definitely
sell them because they may be worth something. Who knows, right? They could be worth something. But they might
or even just like if anybody really like is into it and can accommodate them, then hey man, come through. If you've got the pond and you've got the facilities and if you can afford
it. Are you actually you're doing a Gumtree ad right now on the show? That's what you're basically doing.
Can you tell? No, it's Facebook Market. I'm literally typing as we speak.
Okay. Well, let's see what you can do here. I mean, the show's got to have its uses, right? Show's got to pay for itself. So let's make it worth it for Lebang. That's the whole point this morning. You want to buy her fish? Man, have I got some news for you. There are fishies available this morning. You didn't think this was going to happen? Well, here it is, ladies and gentlemen. Some fishes just for you.
Thank you. That's actually the perfect ad. I'm going to literally take that little audio and attach it to the ad. And now I've got a whole thing going on.
There we go. So koi fish are a great piece if you're hosting events outside, says Kuhle Nkosi. Are you being sarcastic, Kuhle? Are you talking like a fish fry?
Like, are we going fishing in the pond?
Inga says, koi fish are amazing. They recognize faces. Soon they will start recognizing and looking only at you when there are other people at the pond because they know you. Yeah, like Jaws. Like Jaws used to look at the main protagonist dude. I'm a fish person, says Michael. Fish with slap chips and salt and vinegar.
Of course, Michael. Of course.
Lizanne says, don't be coy about it. Just say you want to sell it.
I want to sell it. I want to sell them, all of them.
I think everybody's on the same, same kind of vibe here because Sunmarie says, guess we're having sushi for dinner. Now, I like this. Ruth said, my dream was always to have a dividing marine tank wall in my lounge, but man, it's work. Oh, like yes.
In Romeo and Juliet, when like they see each other for the first time. Remember Romeo in that movie?
With Leonardo DiCaprio and Claire Danes.
Yes, exactly. It would be stunning, but can you imagine the upkeep of something like that?
That movie was awesome. It was directed by Baz Luhrmann. Do you remember the soundtrack? Oh, there was some good music on that soundtrack.
It was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. And for its time as well. I remember being extremely young when that movie came out, but I loved everything about it. I was so impressed. Stunning.
No, I liked it too. All right, so you've moved into the new house. You've inherited these fish. You don't necessarily want them. Now you've made it. You've basically offered them up on the show. Everybody, if you want to get hold of her, just give the email address again, Lebang. I mean, these are how big are these fish, by the way? Show me with your hands.
They're quite big. It's like they're big and almost fat, if I can say.
30,
Maybe like
40
30,
centimeters.
40 centimeters around, and they're like plump as well. There's an orange one, there's like a silver one, there's like a black one. It's a freaking rainbow of koi up in there. So if you're interested, contact at cliffcentral.com. In the subject line, just put I'm koi about these fish, and then we'll know to let you know where to go, or all that stuff. You know where to find us, that kind of thing. But yeah, that if really for sure, then yeah. If not, I'll just have to teach my kids to love this thing, and hopefully one of them out of the 5 will be like, "Oh, I'm actually a fish guy or a fish girl." So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
I don't know if that's going to happen. I've got very. I haven't. I'm. I'm very realistic about this kind of thing in the world. I'm not the kind of person who. I'm not a fantasist. I don't believe in. No, I don't believe in fantasies. I believe in reality, and reality here is the shame. It's
not going to happen.
No. It's going to be done sooner rather than later.
Well, the guy's coming today. He's like the fish guy. He's coming with his thermometers and his watts and checking the water and to see if we're doing okay. So he'll give us feedback after he sends the invoice. That'll also be the deciding factor. Like, now there's a whole guy. Sure. I wish I had a guy that could just come through and check on me and see if I'm okay. But I'm not a koi fish. But yeah, we'll see how it goes, bro.
We almost need, like people do, they have these things for their pets, but we need these things for humans. We need someone to come and check on humans. You know how people need these mental health checks and they need to be like looked after by somebody. That's what these things are for. And we need human care.
Dr. Hanan.
I know, that's what he's there
Wouldn't
for.
You say?
There on a Monday. He's kind of, I think he would take a dim view of us saying that he's like a fish person who looks after fish. Humans are we think we're better than that, but we're really not.
Yeah.
All right. So a couple of things that are on my agenda before we get into the news headlines. Apparently, this story. Kid Cudi walked off of stage during a music festival. What was this? He was like the replacement act for Kanye West, but what was this actually about? Because when these people fight with each other, I never really know what's going on. Maybe you can help me understand this. What is this all
about? There's a huge festival overseas called Rolling Loud. It happens like every year, massive. They get like literally all the best stars to come through. And maybe 4 to 6 months ago, they announced the lineup, and Kanye West was the headline artist. So when they released that, everyone was excited. I mean, imagine if your favorite artist was like headlining in the festival, you'd run and buy tickets, which is exactly what people did. Until like a week before the festival, they're like, "Oh yeah, sorry about the whole Kanye West thing. He's not coming anymore. But we've got Kid Cudi." So people that had bought tickets were like, "What? No, man. Like we don't actually buy these tickets for Kid Cudi. We bought them for Kanye." So there was already that little bit of like animosity and like anger from the crowd.
Wouldn't you be furious? You'd be furious. I know you.
Yes, I was furious on their behalf. Like as somebody who, and remember, Gareth, these tickets are going for like $2,000 a pop, $1,500 a pop. These are expensive tickets. So they get to the concert and there, Kid Cudi's performing. And if you think about it, these are like Gen Zs in the crowd. They don't really vibe, I guess, with Cudi on that level. They start throwing shit at him like paper, water bottles, blah, blah, blah. And he takes his mic and he says, "If anybody throws one more thing at me, one more thing, I'm getting off the stage and you're going to fuck it up for everybody."
That's an invitation because you know what people are like. They're like, "Oh, okay, I'll throw something at you, Summer Beach." And that's what they did, right?
Exactly. One person just threw a water bottle and he just stormed off. And to add insult to injury, about 5 artists later, people are performing. One of the other artists brings out a surprise act in his set. Can you guess who that surprise act is? Kanye West. So it was just a shit show.
No, but now
I
people
know.
are going to be even more furious. But you see, this is like, why do artists do this? People don't have the patience for this kind of thing.
Oh,
Money
I'm
is
so
tight. Like, no one wants to put up with this shit. Why don't these artists just learn? Like, if you promise people something, you have to deliver. And there's nothing scarier than a crowd that has not got what it wants.
Yeah, but when they saw
No
Kanye,
offense
they
to
were
those
like, "Oh my God, it's Kanye West! Oh, he's
I'm so
actually real."
happy.
And he performed like a song that actually featured Kid Cudi in the hook, but obviously him and Kid Cudi are beefing. Oh, Gareth, it was just so messy. It was so messy, but it's Kanye West. He can afford to host his own freaking shows. He doesn't need to go to Rolling Loud. He doesn't need to. He doesn't
Yeah.
need to. He just, he's just being a bit of a diva. But it was just interesting to see.
I bet
Yeah,
Kanye he is the most diva of
the
divas.
the. But yeah, that's what's happening in the world of festivals today. So
Is Kanye like he's okay? Because remember he was going through a bit of a crisis after he broke up with Kim, and he was beefing with that other dude who Kim was dating. And is he all right now? Is he like
um,
he's okay? He's on the wagon?
look, I don't know if Kanye will ever be okay without Kim right next to him. To be honest, he'll always hate Kim's current partner. What's his name? PD Davidson or whatever. Like he'll
Davidson,
always be
that's
hated by Kanye. But I don't know if he's putting any of the energy into that guy anymore. It was just that initial phase of like, I hate my life, and then now it's like reality. Like Kim is actually with this guy, so he's just kind of like keeping it
got over
moving, I
it now.
guess. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. All right, I saw he launched some new shoe the other day, which looks absolutely ridiculous. It's got like plastic. It looks like something you would put around your shoe to keep the rain out of it. It's like got a sole,
Yeah,
and then it's got a zip up the middle, and it goes up to your ankle. It's like a new Yeezy or something, but it's horrible.
yeah, it's
It's really
nonsense.
bad. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I think the more and more Kanye releases clothes, the more I realize that the hobo look is really where we're going. We're moving more and more into like this I don't care. I'm just gonna throw on whatever shirt, however many holes it's got in it. It's fashion. Oh, my pants are ripped. It's fashion. Oh, my shoes are gigantic. It's fashion. I think it's his vibe. It's kind of always been his vibe, and good for him and those people who are gonna spend all those trillions buying that stuff because it's also
Mm.
just ridiculously expensive. Ugh.
Sanele says, if you thought the flag issue was the pits, you were wrong. Nutty, spelled Nutty Mtetwa, has a new item on his shopping list. He wants a 1 billion piece orchestra for what I don't know, but it's going to set us back 30 million. I think there may be some numbers that Sanele is exaggerating just a little bit there, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Like Nutty Mtetwa has been looking for something to do in the portfolio of arts and culture for the longest time, except actually support arts and culture. So I'm not surprised. That's our Minister of Arts and Culture. He says, should I say Minister of Nuts and Couture? Yeah, that's probably about right. So here's an interesting suggestion from Jim. Says, pay the fish guy with koi. Well, you could do that. You could try. And I'll give you 5 fish if you come back one more time. And I'll give you the other 5 fish. Apparently, stop fishing. Say what you want to get rid of these fish. Some good lines here.
Okay,
No, man, Gareth, I had
Sanele.
nightmares, says Aneska. I had nightmares last night from the story about the dead guy who looked like mince and his dog was eating him. Ugh. Yeah, that was a real story. That was an actual story. It's gross.
Jeez, what do you guys do here on Mondays, eh?
I know. I should really have you here on Mondays just to help keep it from being ridiculous.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Marco agrees with me. That shoe is fugly. Oh, it's disgusting. All right. So let's look at some news. Let's see what's happening in the world of news. First headline for this morning. Wakanda Forever trailer has been unveiled at the Comic-Con conference. So for a lot of people, this is a big deal. More Avengers films are coming. Yay. As if we needed that. But these are a money-making bonanza. They would be stupid not to make these. Why? Because the audience is stupid enough to watch them. So keep giving people what they want.
Hey, these are
Right?
great movies, Gareth. These are good. These are great.
Are they?
That trailer, that Wakanda trailer is just please watch it. It's borderline, it's emotional, it's sad, it's good, it's action packed. You can see that they put their foot into this movie. It's looking so dope, dude. You have to check it out. Firstly, secondly, thank you to the Marvel universe for giving us like a time frame of when we can expect new movies. We know mentally, okay, cool. In 2025 and this month, this is gonna come out. It's like a whole thing. And if you've watched all the Marvel movies from the beginning, then dude, you'll be as excited as I am. This is just it's great news. I'm excited and thank you.
All right. Okay. I'm not. To me, they're all the same now. I mean, there's an origin story for everyone. There's this that happens. It follows the same story arc in every single movie. And I was okay with the first 4 or 5, and then by 6 and 7, I was like, hang on a second. I think I've seen this story before. It's just a different character. And then by 9 and 10, you're like, no, I'm being sold a bill of goods here. And there's a dog turd
No.
wrapped in gift wrap. That's all it is.
What did Sanela say earlier on? You're old and what? Bitter, and you
Yes,
shit on everyone. Huh. Okay, there we go.
that's right. All bitter and twisted. By the way, did you see that hilarious picture of Elon Musk on a holiday somewhere with his shirt off? And he's got like this
With
really
his
bad
chest.
torso. Yeah,
Oh,
really bad torso. And then there's this meme going around of like Elon, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, and who was the other one? Some other dude, some other rich dude. And they all have like shirts off, and you have to choose one. Choose your fighter,
no.
and they all look terrible. In fact, I'd say Jeff Bezos probably looks the best. I mean, like he may be bald and he has the one like droopy eye, but that guy's in the best shape of all of them.
Yeah,
Hey, who cares? Women find them attractive because they're loaded with cash. They don't have to be good looking.
That's all. They literally are walking bank accounts, and it doesn't matter what they look like. I mean, when I saw that Elon Musk picture, I was kind of scared, dude. I was like, "Oh, is he like real?" And then like, there's just a lot going on for me. I was like, I don't know what's going on. It was creepy.
Well, talking about a lot going on, Elon Musk has denied having an affair with Nicole Shanahan, who is the wife of Google co-founder Sergey Brin. You see, these guys just cannot stop themselves from shitting on each other's lawn. Mr. Musk's comments came after the Wall Street Journal reported that his friendship with Mr. Brin had ended over an alleged affair with his wife. Replying to a link to the story posted on Twitter, Mr. Musk referred to the report as total BS. He went on to say that he is still friends with Mr. Brin and that they were at a party together last night. Citing people familiar with the matter, the Wall Street Journal said that Mr. Musk was engaged in a brief affair late last year with Ms. Shanahan. This prompted Mr. Brin to file for divorce earlier this year and ended the long friendship between the two high-profile tech billionaires. The paper also said, but Mr. Musk tweeted, I've only seen Nicole twice in 3 years, both times with many other people around, nothing romantic. That was his exact tweet. But do you believe it?
Find out next week on Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, who knows except the people in these stories?
Honestly, and I wouldn't be surprised because, the lifestyles that they live are just so sick and messy,
Outrageous.
and they've just got so much money.
Outrageous.
That I wouldn't be surprised if they really are engaging in these like really gross things. Like maybe that's just what they do. It could be true. It couldn't be true. We actually don't give a rat's ass.
And we don't know. We can't be sure. It's not our story.
Yeah.
We're not involved. It's
We're
very,
not
very
balling
difficult to work
enough.
out what's true, what's not true, all of this stuff. So this is gossip. That's all it is. It's gossip. This is an interesting story. I saw this in the news yesterday, on the TV news. So apparently, Shamila Batoy, she was on TV last night. I hardly recognized her. I thought Jessie Duarte had come back from the dead and discovered the elixir of youth because she looked a bit younger. But Shamila Batoy, it turns out, it wasn't Jessie Duarte back from the dead, and she was there to tell us that she is going to extradite the Guptas. She says Rajesh and Atul Gupta are going to be extradited. They've applied with the UAE to have them pulled out of there and brought here for trial. Ronald Lamola, who's our Minister of Justice, said that they were arrested in June and that they're making all the moves, but they're doing it properly. They're leaving no stone unturned. And they said they're going to go about this the right way. They're going to follow Interpol rules and all the rest. But we may just have the Guptas in the country. Now, do you think that would be enough to forgive Shamila Batoy for not doing anything for the last 5 years? Would that be enough? Could be.
Hey, she's finally speaking out.
It could be something.
I mean, she came out of the woodworks to do something. But I listened to her, and if you hear what she said, she was like, "Yeah, so we're not gonna guarantee that we're gonna actually arrest the Guptas, but we're gonna try our best. But please don't get excited if you think you're gonna." She was sounding a little bit wishy-washy. She didn't sound confident herself.
No.
It was almost like, "We'll see, but we'll let you know, South Africa. Goodbye." I was just like, "What is the point of this?" Like,
it's the first time she's spoken to us in probably her entire tenure as NDPP, National Director of Public Prosecutions. She's hardly been around. I didn't even know what she looked like. I genuinely thought it was Jessie Duarte who'd just risen from her coffin. I had no idea. So there we go. But that's happening. And it would be great if they actually bring the Guptas here, wouldn't it? We'd be impressed with that.
Yeah, I mean, we do need some sort of like solutions to problems of, present or past. We need to see that, we are actually like moving into a solving vibe as a country. But, whether it's going to happen or not,
we will see. Gareth, how come you never touched on the Dutch farmers' protest? I thought you were a guy for liberty. Well, yeah, we did talk about the Dutch farmers' protest. In fact, I spoke about it the one morning and how it's making a mockery of the whole green movement, because all over the world, and I also mentioned Sri Lanka at the same time, Michael. So Sri Lanka, they've overthrown the government there. They stormed the presidential palace about a week and a half ago. It could even be 2 weeks now. And that's all because stupid green policies imposed from the top down at Davos level on governments like Sri Lanka, who really don't have a dog in the environmental fight, but they've got a great environmental record, and now they've got no fuel. And the same thing is happening all over Europe. Germany is switching back to nuclear power. They're trying to find alternative energy sources. They're trying to declare a whole bunch of things that are not environmentally friendly, so they can get the green points, but they can also get enough power. And meanwhile, Greta Thunberg is probably sulking her ass off in some Swedish town at the moment, going, how dare they, we were doing so well, how dare they. So I think all of this is indicative of the complete failure of the renewables, of that whole movement, the green movement, the entire climate change argument has kind of, it's fallen on deaf ears, because when people need power, as we've learned in this country, you're not particularly concerned about how much carbon dioxide you're putting into the atmosphere. That is a rich people concern. So if you really want to solve global warming, climate change, if you really want to save the planet, make everybody rich. Then they will have the time and the energy and the inclination to care about the environment. Poor people don't have the luxury of worrying about that stuff. It's that simple. You can argue with me.
Literally.
What are you? Are you a climate change denier? It's got nothing to do with that. If you want to solve these problems, and all of us admit that we should be looking after the earth better, everybody, there isn't a week that goes by we don't talk about pollution. We don't talk about the way that the state of our country and our water resources. There isn't a week that doesn't go by where we aren't talking about, how many more people are putting in solar and trying to get off the grid and all of that stuff. We're all talking about it. And I think it's a great movement from that point of view. But it is a rich people problem. Average poor people in places like Sri Lanka, South Africa, the third world, the developing world, we need power desperately. We don't have the ability to switch to all wind and solar, and there wouldn't be enough if we did. We'd need to turn the whole of the Sahara into a huge big solar array, and how nice is that going to be? Plus, we've heard how dangerous those solar panels are based on what they're made of, and how they eventually expire and you have to get rid of them, and then there's more environmental concern there. But again, you think this far, not the whole length, and then you wonder why things don't go your way. So I have spoken about it, Michael. That's the short answer to a very long reply from me.
I saw the other day that Drake, Kendall, Kylie Jenner, they use their jets just to travel to like the next town. Not even the next town, just like an hour's drive from Joburg. Yeah, from Joburg to Pretoria, they'll just hop into their private jet on the daily, mind you, and just fly around. Um, as the person at the bottom of the barrel, literally, our problems are literally like, what are we gonna eat? How are we gonna keep the lights on? Do we even have any lights? We're not even thinking on that level. Look at the people that can afford those things. That's where your problems are. I would say. Secondly, kudos to Sri Lanka, man. I love the way that they handled this.
Mm.
It was so chaotic, but it was beautiful to see pictures of average
Yeah.
Sri Lankan people sitting in the president's bed, sitting in the president's bath, taking pictures, literally just spending the day in the president's like world. It was
Right.
stunning, and I love that for them.
Mm. So here's an interesting study, and I think this is something we could talk about for hours. But a study done at Oxford University Press found that 75% of participants surveyed, that's ordinary people, believe information that they share on social media is accurate. So let me get into a little detail here. The findings of Oxford University Press study that assessed how people worldwide seek out information and judge its accuracy has found that 5,000 participants across South Africa, the United Kingdom, India, Mexico, and the US. So we were included in this, all right? Marketing specialist at Oxford University Press, someone called Danielle Carls, said 52% of participants said when it came to distinguishing fact from fiction, sites like Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram play an important role. Essentially, it involved a cross-continental study, and then we also did some supplementary desk-based research evidence gathering. They said 1,000 respondents in each country took part in the research. Although this is probably quite small in comparison to the country's population, it still provided us with a really nice set of rich data that presented a global picture of different ways that people are accessing information. So if you ask the average person, is that stuff that you're sharing on social media true or not? Of course, they're going to say yes. They're sharing it, right? They're
Oh, we
already
are so
sharing it.
screwed.
No, but I mean, so what? We've always had fake information out there. People have always, there's always been that auntie. We talked about this at the start of lockdown. There's always been that auntie in every family who comes to a family gathering and says, you can get cancer if you swim in water that's more than 30 degrees. If you have
Mm,
hot
mm,
baths, you know that that's going to affect your fertility. If you don't mix a handful of soil into your pasta every night, you're going to get AIDS. There's always like those people. There's always those. Every family has one. Every group of people has one. These people who they live for spreading fake information, and you can see them from a mile away. They're the same people who used to read the gossip magazines and the tabloids. You know those people. They've always been around.
mm.
Why are we surprised by this? Everybody's so concerned about misinformation and disinformation. Let me tell you about misinformation and disinformation. I tweeted this or Instagram shared this yesterday. The White House, right? Joe Biden, the White House. Listen to what they've just put out. Tell me this isn't insane. So, obviously, they've got a major problem because they've been mismanaging the economy so badly. Joe Biden inherited an economy that had been put on pause. All he had to do was press unpause and let the economy go, and everything would have been fine. But no, he had to screw with it. So they're going into recession. And people in America are furious because gas prices are up, inflation is up. That means interest rates are going up. It means everything gets more expensive. It's the same thing we're going through here. And of course, when America gets a cold, we all get sick as a result of that. We downstream from them. We're going to get sick too. So listen to what the White House actually put. This is put out on whitehouse.gov. Okay, so you can look at this is unbelievable. Talk about misinformation and disinformation. What is a recession? They say. While some maintain that 2 consecutive quarters of falling real GDP constitutes a recession, that is neither the official definition nor the way economists evaluate the state of the business cycle. Actually, it is. Actually, that is how you define a recession. That's how every economist in the world does. They carry on. Instead, both official determinations of recessions and economists' assessment are based on a holistic look at the data. When people start talking about words like holistic in economics, you just know they're on a highway to hell. Anyway, they say it is unlikely that the decline in GDP in the first quarter of this year, even if followed by another GDP decline in the second quarter, indicates a recession. In other words, we are in a recession, but we don't like the definition of the word recession, so we'll just change the definition. And you're just going to go along with it because you're an idiot. That is the White House. And in South Africa, do you need an example of how we do it here? Well, you know that the ANC had this brilliant policy, and I'm sure you've been paying attention to this. This is one of the reasons that they had that big meeting in KZN, and they've decided to throw out certain people and keep certain people in. It's not looking good for Sihle Zikalala, for example. But the ANC want to scrap the step-aside rule. You know, the step-aside rule is that if you're being investigated for a serious crime, you must step aside. That was a rule they imposed on themselves. They say it's compromising the party. Now, we all know that this is misinformation and disinformation, because what it means is we don't want to stop stealing, and we don't want to stop ourselves from stealing with a step-aside rule. So, fuck you. We're going to carry on stealing. Taxpayer. Right?
Basically.
Right. That's now there's misinformation. There's something you need to worry about. But no, we're too concerned about like where you get your news or whether or not you believe that monkeypox is coming to get you, whether you trust your government. No, it's clear that people are being lied to, and they're being lied to primarily by the government. So now you know. Anyway, I needed to get that off my chest, and now that it's done, we can turn our attention to our friend Jaco Voigt, who is from Catalytic, and it's always good to have Jaco on the show. We don't have him on every week, but we have him on every other week, and he's here this morning. He's got his own show on this morning, which you can catch a little bit later on. It's called Unbundled, but Jaco's here this morning to share with us some wisdom, some stories, some stuff we need to know. How are you doing, man? Jaco, you're on mute.
How's it, Lebang? Welcome back.
How's it?
Hi, Jaco. How are you?
I was listening intently to Gareth going on, and I think it's quite relevant.
Oh, is it? I'm glad that somebody agrees with me, because I'm just tired of being like, you know, if you're going to lie to me, like at least make it a good lie. I don't mind if you're going to try and pull the wool over my eyes, but then make it a good story. Like, you know, and then the shark came out of the water and it jumped up and it grabbed my leg, but it only got my little toe. And now I've been in hospital for a week. And, you know, tell me a good story. Then I'll go, wow, it was worth being bullshitted. You agree?
I think it's been drawn out for so long they don't even have to try anymore. It's just say anything, and then people just go for it and believe it. It's a bit bizarre for me, to be honest.
Yet these are the very people, Jaco, who are trying to tell us that they have a monopoly on the truth. They're the ones who say, you know, this Joe Biden who's trying to his administration that are trying to redefine the word recession, even though it's been an established word that has a meaning in economics for the longest time. He's the one who's trying to redefine it. He is also the one who tried to establish a ministry of disinformation not so long ago. They put this woman in who was a complete crackpot. She was singing like songs from The Sound of Music on YouTube. They're going to put her in charge. There was such outrage from people. They were like, no, you can't put a ministry of disinformation in place. This is like George Orwell's 1984. So they said, oh, okay, well, we won't do that then. And they quickly withdrew her. These are the people who are going to lie to us, and yet they want to tell us they're busy making sure we're not lied to by everyone else. Nonsense.
From Jacinda in New Zealand, that also she was also saying we the single source of truth. So just believe everything that we say. You know, so it was interesting that.
I think what we're all getting to here is that if government tells you something, it's usually just because it comes from them. It's usually the opposite of the truth.
You know, that almost leads into the let's call it the commercial reality that we live in, is because people find it more and more difficult to discern, you know, what's the truth versus, you know, a good sales pitch. And I think, you know, if you look at what's happening in the South African market, I don't know if you saw last week, MTN said they're in the process of or they made a bid to buy telecom. And then a couple of months earlier, Vodacom is doing the same, you know. So it's actually quite topical. I was just thinking before we started about these sort of mega corporations that's starting to come about, you know, as the market consolidates. And then as a little small business somewhere, you know, you're just becoming sort of more diminutive by the minute as you go on. You know, you're just becoming almost less and less relevant.
So, Jaco, you've been in the telco business for a long time. You understand internet service provision. That's why you started this business, and you're in charge of Catalytic now. But what is the state of play at the moment? Because it used to be that Vodacom and MTN were the big guys. Telkom obviously used to have all the fixed line infrastructure, which is pretty much redundant in most places. And then there's Cell C kind of trailing behind them. Who are the major players, though? I mean, is that still the state of play, or has it changed? Who are the big 18-pound gorillas in the room?
I'll answer that question. You actually made me think now. I was having a conversation about a week ago. And I think definitely for me, let's call it post-pandemic, if you know, if that's a term that's usable. I think customers have become perpetually sort of dissatisfied, you know. So like everybody wants more for less, if you want to call it that.
Sure.
But I had such an interesting conversation a week ago with a guy that was in one of the big regional internet companies, which is now part of Dimension Data. And he explained to me, you know, when they started out and they had these blue chip customers, and then you know, you had like a dedicated support desk and a direct number for a support guy, etc., etc. And then as that sort of value chain, you know, as it commoditizes, then all of a sudden, even if you phone from, let me just use a hypothetical, from one of the big banks or whatever, you go into a queue and you wait your turn like everybody else, because you've basically chopped off that premium portion that you're paying for the service that you're expecting. And then all of a sudden, everybody's like, oh no, but why must I now get such terrible service? It's ridiculous. So it's to a degree, customers also you know, create the unideal circumstances for themselves by you know, pushing for this constant commoditization and saying, yeah, you know, I want it cheaper. And ultimately, people keep cutting the costs, but and then you've got this perception of, oh, I need to change to a different service provider because the service is bad. But it's like that with everybody, you know. Like if you don't run lean and mean in this market, you've got a problem, and that's why you know, MTN is probably making a play for somebody like a Telkom or whatever, because in those larger ones, it's more difficult to run lean and mean. And then obviously, you know, the bigger the machine, the slower the cogs are turning, you know. So from an end customer perspective, you know, it doesn't matter how the markets spin it. I don't fundamentally believe it's a good thing. It's probably inevitable. But yeah, I think as an end customer, you know, that's something that I speak in my show about often. The customer has got to be more discerning around who they do business with and who it is that they pick to do business with, who they entrust their business to. So the big ones at the moment are those guys that you mentioned, and then there's there's obviously Dimension Data is a big one. The whole of Vox Group, they've just rebranded themselves to Vivica. Right. That's quite a big monster. You know, and then obviously those the big mobile guys, like you mentioned, you know, those are the guys. And then you know, and then you've got Liquid, who was the original second network operator. No, so those are almost the mainstream players. But I mean, as you can see, I mean, Telkom, you know, 15 years ago or 10 years ago, even, it was unimaginable that somebody would come and just have the ability to say, listen, we're going to buy you out. And it's not even considered to be that big a transaction. If you listen to the financial analysts, you know, they're talking about 15 billion rand or something like that. It's not even that massive. But from a consumer perspective, in my opinion, I don't think it's not a good place for where the market's at.
So what does this mean for consumers? Because as these companies get bigger, they become further and further, more and more disintermediated from the clients. Obviously, this is an advantage for you guys. You must be licking your lips, Jaco, because it means that you're going to have a lot of dissatisfied MTN and telecom customers coming to you.
It's actually and it's true. We always say, if those big guys, if they were firing on all cylinders, we probably wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
I think from our perspective, the challenge or the work that we have to do primarily on a daily basis is explain to customers what that value is that we can deliver and what the benefit is for them in terms of not going with those big guys. And it's interesting, because like in all of the businesses that I've been involved in, we've always we were the guys that were disintermediating these regulated large type guys, which customers have been calling for. And yet some customers, when when it gets to that point, then they go, yeah, but I'm not really sure. You guys look a bit new, so let me just stay. So like, you've got to also pick your what do you want? Do you want somebody that's going to fight for you and make sure that you get value for money and the best deal, or do you want to have your cake and eat it? So it's an interesting market.
All right, so let's just understand this quickly from the point of view of the customer, because that's all that matters. I mean, we're only interested in ourselves as customers. We're not that worried about all the other stuff. The whole model for these guys has changed so much too, and this is where you've got like years of experience in this. So you're the only guy who can answer this without like propagandizing the answer. Originally it was about connecting people via cell phones. I mean, remember, that was where MTN and Vodacom made all their money, and they charged us a fortune. Remember what you had airtime, then you had SMS bundles, and you had call, like unlimited calls or whatever. Then they moved from that on to data. Now data is the only thing anyone cares about. All the other parts of their packages are completely useless. And they've been trying to find new income streams. Have they found any? Have companies like Vodacom really done anything innovative in the last 10 years?
That is a hot button question. I'm having lunch with some people from Vodacom today, so I might have to pay if I answer that question.
I mean, this is true, right? Because I remember they were the darlings of the industry, and everybody was looking, well, if Vodacom are doing something, it must be amazing. I mean, you had Alan Knott Craig, he was considered this paragon, and he knew what he was doing, and he was way ahead of the game. And then ever since then, it's been kind of like, well, maintenance, and then not just even maintenance, but like going backwards, because their main product was suddenly cheap.
And so to answer your question, and I think that's part of the reason why you see this drive for consolidation, because when you get scale, you get efficiencies. So if you're not creating new markets, or if the market's saturated or whatever, the only thing that's left is you can consolidate, and that's sort of where we're at now at the moment, and I think there's been a lot of talk about it in the market for quite a while, but I think that specifically post-COVID, etc., that's happening now, where these guys are going, well, the only real new numbers that I can put on the board is by consolidating and buying up other existing businesses.
That's not great, right, Jaco? I mean, if that's all you're doing, that's not great, huh? All right. Well, there's a look into that world, yeah.
And back to my starting point. If you're in small business, like you say, the people that care about themselves. Imagine now if you like my little example of a 20-man accounting business, and you have to find some massive call center and wait in a queue for something. The bigger the organization, the more difficult it is to deliver an individualized service. And there's a lot of talk in the market, and I mean, I might contradict some of the technology that we believe in, but there's a lot of talk in the market where you've got to send customers into a self-service online queue and this and that and this and that. But fundamentally, people want to speak to people, and when you've got a problem, you want to pick up the phone, you want to find somebody and say, listen, this is Gareth, phoning from Cliff Central. I want this problem sorted out. You don't want to sit there and press IVRs for the whole day and hope for the best, So
Or be put through to a call center in India, for example, which is what a lot of people have found themselves being put through to, right? It's also a big problem.
On one of those, it's terrible.
All right. Well, it continues to
English
be
accent with somebody in India. It's almost impossible.
But Jaco, this is exciting for the customers. So in the end, we're going to be the ones who benefit, and I'm only too happy about that.
The end customers got to be more discerning and understand what it is that they expect from their service provider. And I think if that's the case, then I think there can definitely be a win-win type scenario. To me, I think every customer engagement is almost like a partnership. You've got to pick somebody that you can walk the road with instead of just today is a yellow smartie and tomorrow is a black smartie or whatever the case is. You've got to pick somebody that you walk the road with.
Just like you have to choose your news sources, I'm afraid. It's down to you. You can't expect someone else to make these decisions for you. If you do let someone else make them for you, you deserve whatever happens afterwards. Jaco Voigt is from Catalytic. He's got his own show on cliffcentral.com called Unbundled. They do lots of interesting things on the show. I advise you to listen this morning. You're on live on cliffcentral.com, and you can always get the podcast too. Bless you, Lebang. We'll be back in just a little bit with a whole lot more. Stick around, cliffcentral.com on a Tuesday morning.
This week on the Auto Trader podcast.
So we have a product on Auto Trader called Vehicle Check.
Well, that's not it's not a physical inspection, right? It's a history check.
It's a history check. So this is, and I think it's important to note that is something completely different. However, how does that work? So that looks at the vehicle's VIN data,
and then whatever data is captured about the car,
yes,
we try and gather. Catch us every Monday at 9 a.m. on YouTube and on autotrader.co.za.
Just because it's about technology, connecting your business to the rest of the world doesn't mean you need to send rockets to space and use complicated solutions. Want to simplicate things? Well, join Jaco Voigt, who is the CEO of Catalytic, on the Unbundled podcast. With skin in the game and a keen focus on educating and assisting you and your business, Jaco decodes all the aspects of connectivity, security, and cloud solutions. Unbundled is brought to you by Catalytic and is available on cliffcentral.com, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. It is Tuesday morning. It is almost the end of July. August just around the corner. This morning, you know how we like to speak to young people who are doing interesting, important, and impressive things? Well, today we're going to be joined by someone called Himkaar Singh, who is an entrepreneur and an engineer and a recipient of the Forbes Africa 30 Under 30 award this year. and we'll talk a little bit about what he's busy with, why it's impressive, and on that whole issue that Michael asked me in the comments about, what the future holds, and global warming and climate change and the environmental lobby and what people are doing to try and make power available and cheaper and less environmentally devastating, and what people are trying to do to make water scarcity less of an issue here in South Africa, where that's one of our major problems. Well, this guy has got his eye on the prize. And the cool thing about living in 2022, which we've got to remember, is that our solutions may be just beyond the horizon. They may be just a few days away. They may be months, years, but not, generations away. We could figure out somewhere in our lifetimes even things like how to pull carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. There are already people doing it, and reversing the effects of climate change. And we're able to do more and more clever, adaptive, and brilliant things as a species that will enable us to live much longer and much more happy lives on this planet and do less damage, frankly, because we'll be able to turn around. For all we know, those solutions are right on the horizon. So I'm very happy we'll have this guest join us in just a short while, because, for all we understand about this, it may be a lot simpler if we just trust the people who actually know, who do know what's going on, not the ones who pretend that they know what's going on, but the experts, the people who've spent their lives working on engineering and scientific projects that could deliver incredible results for humanity somewhere in the very near future. And it's space exploration, it's being able to figure out what we can do when we mine into the earth, what we can pull out, what we can put back in, what we can do with the air, and what we can do with our water resources. All of this stuff is part of how we will make the world work and make it work better. Yonder says these networks are all just useless. Never try anything new. And in SA, for instance, we have a huge market that is not fully tapped into urban areas. The Tesla Pi will be a disruptive one. Yeah, you remember, Lebang, I was talking with Jaco now, and it just got me thinking. Remember what we used to pay, like R2.50 for an SMS? Do you remember that?
Oh, those were the days. How much do SMSs cost anyway? Who still SMSs?
No, I don't think they cost you anything. No, I don't think they cost you a single cent. But we used to pay R2.50 an SMS. Tell me we weren't being ripped off. Excuse me. Right?
Yeah. No, but Yonda's absolutely correct. You have a problem with the current service provider you're on. You ask people, who are you with? Who should I go to? They all there's no one that is like the one. They all nonsense. But also, rather the devil you end up, Yaku's got a point. You'd rather just find that one and just stick to it. So you end up just taking the crap that you're being fed, because they all kind of the same. There's no better devil. So it's tricky. It is quite tricky. And we are definitely being overcharged. We still are. If R2.50 for SMSs back then was a shitload, even till this day, the amount that we pay for data is just bullshit. It doesn't make any sense. It's nonsense compared to other countries. This is our everyday fight. I mean, you know how Facebook has like a memory thing where it shows you what you posted years ago. Yes. Yesterday, it showed me that 11 years ago, I posted my BBM pin. My BBM pin, where I would pay 60 rands a month for the whole month to speak to people, to live. It was amazing. I had a moment. I was like, we took advantage of you. We took advantage of you because, frick, man, that was just amazing. Now look at us struggling. It's nonsense.
Well, this is why you got to be awake. You got to pay attention. It's up to you to decide how much you're going to let them take advantage of you. And if you make if you make stupid mistakes, you're going to pay stupid prices. That's unfortunately the way it works. All right. Yeah. So a couple of things that we've got to get to this morning, and one of the things that you actually wanted to talk about, the pressures of impressing and getting along with the woman in your man's life or the men in your woman's life. And this could be a work thing, especially because a lot of people spend a huge amount of time at work, and then they expect their wife or girlfriend or boyfriend or husband to get to know their work colleagues, and sometimes that's just not on everybody's list of priorities. Is that what you're talking about, or are you talking more in the family sense? Because that's also a thing.
Yeah. So this past weekend, I went to a place called Duduza, right, which is like a township on the far, far east end, like past Foslo, close to Springs. It was far. It was my first time there, but I was like, cool, let's try new things. And when I got there, one of my friends who has been married into this family for about 10 years was really having a tough time, Gareth. Like she was holding her baby, right? Obviously, just, mom of the century. And then all the women, like at that function, were like requesting things of her. Go check the pots. Go check the this. You go do this. Go do. And she would stop and go do all that shit. And I'm like, bro, sure, I get it. These are like your husband's cousins and sisters, but this is a lot. Like, this is a lot of pressure. And she just said to me, you got to do what you got to do. I'm like, no, you don't got to do what you got to do in this situation. Like, you don't have to impress 10 years in, by now they should be cutting you some slack. It's not like you just arrived yesterday. And it just kind of sucked to see her in that situation, having to really stop and have to tend to everybody's needs because she is the magoti in the situation. 10 years into marrying this family. So it just really made me think like, damn, that's a lot of pressure. And I can imagine how many people buckle under that kind of pressure. And you're right, even in the workplace setting where, your partner works with like a bunch of men and now you have to, sort of like impress these men fuck no ways. It's too much work.
It feels very old school, to expect and what you experienced there with this friend of yours, where she's already looking after a kid and she's doing a whole bunch of things, and now she must also be in the kitchen. She must be catering to these people and looking after their whims like they're guests of honor. It's kind of irritating, and I don't understand. And maybe it's a sexist thing. It could well be. I mean, I'm always loath to jump to that conclusion because usually it's wrong. Usually it's just that's how that person feels, but it's not the truth. I wonder if we have to reevaluate this stuff. It takes someone to stand up for themselves, just like we were saying a minute ago with service providers who are treating you like shit. You need to stand up for yourself, and no one else is going to do that for you. You're not going to change their behavior unless you change yours first. You can only change yourself in order to manifest change everywhere else. You can't climb into someone else's head and go, be better, be more.
No, definitely.
Pay more. So she's almost got to stand up for herself. So as much as you feel sorry for her, like this is her thing to fix. I know it sounds horrible, but she can fix this.
She has to. It was sucky for me because I'm standing up for her on her behalf while she's just like, no, it's cool. I'll do it. No, dude, you're not supposed to do anything that you don't have to. You know what I mean? But it was just a very sucky thing to in the year 2020. These are still the things that we're experiencing. Why?
Well, I mean, don't you think there's also a huge amount of like tradition, and tradition can be good and it can be bad. There's this idea that women, have this role in society, and this is it's not the men, by the way, who are busy enforcing this nonsense. It's actually the other women, which is something we need to talk about.
Yes, it's always like woman on woman. Yes, and also because these women probably went through it themselves, so they feel as though it's the right thing to do to also put these women. No, like there's so much unlearning we need to do, Gareth. So much unlearning. It's not even funny, and I can't wait to start the process of unlearning because we are just so messed up. But
if this happened in your family, would you tolerate that shit? Would you put up with it? And how long would it take you to just lose it and say, no, this is not my thing. I'm not doing this.
Nah, dude, never. It wouldn't. There's no way. I wouldn't allow it. It didn't happen to me. I don't expect anybody to go through that.
In other words, when someone wants you to do the traditional thing and be the subservient woman, and there's a lot of this in culture, you just say no straight up.
No, luckily for me, I don't have to deal with that. I'm in a family where there's no women's duties and men's duties. If you've got two hands, you're gonna cook. If you know how to clean for yourself, that kind of thing. So I'm very lucky that I don't have to deal with any of that. But to see it just kind of makes me so iffy and icky. I'm like, oh, what is this? What year? Ugh, 1999 just called. They want their behavior back because what is this and why is this still a thing? So man, it was crappy.
What
It was
about
crappy,
what
but it
about
is
what
it is.
Rusty's saying here? Respecting elders. Is that a thing that you automatically do?
Oh no, yeah, you have to. That's standard procedure.
Okay.
That's a no
No, I'm not
brainer.
trying to trap you. I'm not trying to trap you here, but if you say that that's automatic behavior that you should do, that's something that's right, it's correct to do this. Who says? Who says? I mean, again, people have all these traditions and they have these things that they consider to be, this is the way our families always behaved. This is what we do in our
Mm,
our culture. This is our tribe. This is our thing. Why not call bullshit on that too? I mean, respecting
but
elders. Just because someone's been around
yeah,
on earth longer than you doesn't mean they know more. They might be a complete idiot.
yes.
We all know
So
old idiots.
that's correct. Yes, that's absolutely correct. But that's why I use the word unlearn specifically, because if you were raised in a certain way and these are your family traditions and they've said that this is how we're going to do things, they may not apply to the year 2022. And those things actually may work against your tradition. And they may, not your tradition, it may work against the day and age that we're living in. That's why the word unlearn is so important. And remember, Gareth, with respecting elders, respect in the sense of like, maybe not talking back, there's a way. It's more about the tone that you engage with them versus you talking shit, old person. Do you know what I mean? It's just about being aware. No, real talk. It just boils down to.
But I don't know a lot of people are going to go and say, like, you're talking shit, old person, and like dismiss them completely, even though that's hilarious. I mean, I can think of a couple of ways that would be funny. But there's this automatic thing that we do, which is not good. It's not right. We are screwing ourselves. And just like your friend who's expected to do these wifely, motherly duties and things, and we know it's bullshit, and she's not standing up for herself. I'm saying a lot of this shit needs to be reevaluated. What other rules are there
I
in
agree.
society that you shouldn't just accept blindly? I mean, any authority, you should question authority, right? I mean, isn't that's stoicism? That's a good philosophy to live by. You prove that you have the authority to be able to say X, Y, and Z, and then I'll take you seriously. Same as with age. Just because you're older than me doesn't mean you know more. I'm not going to be rude to you, but I'm not going to necessarily grant you automatic respect.
Yeah, free respect just because of your age. No, I completely agree. There's pros and cons to both. I think the biggest cons is like literally like it's what have you done to earn my ear? Why should I listen to you? Am I just listening to you because of the fact that you're 87? The thing is, back in the day, I think a lot of these people were like very wise. Some of them are wise. I mean, some of the best stories, come from our grandmothers and grandfathers, and the experience that they've got in their storytelling. You hear it and you're like, man, you've lived a life. So automatically, it's like because I've lived so long, you must respect me. Nah, I don't think that's a real thing. But there is a way, Gareth. There is a way where you don't cross the line. Do you know what I mean? Because some kids, especially like Gen Zs, they just take advantage of that. They talk to their elders like they're just talking to their friends, and that's where it gets messy. There's just a line that shouldn't be crossed, is my belief. Where it's like, cool, old person in the house.
Lebang, it sounds a bit arbitrary, if you don't mind my saying. It sounds like you're saying there's a line, but you're not going to define the line. And then someone says something, you might get upset with them. Sometimes they can get away with it. It's too fuzzy. Like, we need to have rules here.
I agree, but again, back to the word unlearning. I think in the learning of all these old school traditional things, there was a lot of gray area. There was a lot of fuzzy. There was nothing that was set in stone and black and white, and this is what it is. Too much crossing over of things.
Ruth has a good one, and this is something that people automatically do, even though it's a dumb idea. How much money people have. Respect needs to be earned. I met an elderly gentleman at a party, and the first thing he said was so racist that was me done. No respect. Now, this thing about money is something I've thought about a lot. Why is it that we have transferred automatic respect. And we used to always say, well, if someone holds a certain office, like let's say they're the chancellor of a university, or they're the CEO of a business, or they are the president of a society or something, we go, ooh, that's very impressive. Ooh, that's very, very good. I'm so happy to hear about that. Oh, by the way, is your baby crying? Do you need to go?
She was crying, but she fell asleep again. So I'll go check on her at like 7:30 if she wakes up again. But it's quiet now. It's like, yeah,
sorry,
quiet.
I just saw your message now. So why is it we give automatic respect to someone who's earned a lot of money, or not even earned, someone who just has a lot of money? Because sometimes somebody's inherited money and we go, oh, well, he's very rich, or she's got lots and lots of money. And people do, they defer. They say, well, that person's so rich, they must be special. They must have more knowledge than me. They must be a special kind of person. Maybe they've got some skills that I don't have, which is nonsense. And even if they've earned that money themselves, sure, that's respectable in some cases. But I know a lot of either morally questionable people who've made lots of money, or people who aren't even that bright. They're not really that smart. They've lucked out. They came up with a great idea or invention at the right time. We all know timing is a huge part of this equation. If you were a footballer like Cristiano Ronaldo, 40, 50, 60 years before he was born, would you be earning the hundreds of millions that he's earning? Obviously not. If you were born in the 1800s as Cristiano Ronaldo, you'd be working on a farm with your hands, right? You would not be kicking a ball around being paid hundreds of millions. So for some people, it's just pure luck. You were born at the right time. You have the right skill. And of course, he's worked very hard. I don't take any of that away from him. But you understand my point about timing, right? It's a big, big deal. I would like to know why it is that we give people automatic respect if they have money. And as Jean says, why do we disrespect the poor, like the homeless? Why do we immediately assume that because someone's homeless, they're worthless? Sometimes there are really awful, extenuating circumstances that have put someone under a bridge, for example, or in a mental hospital, or in a severe depression, or in a situation where all their relationships have failed. And I'm not talking about like, some disease or some unfortunate accident. I'm saying that sometimes your timing and your luck are just not great. It could happen to any of us. And I wonder why it is that we have automatic respect for some people, automatic disrespect for other people. And very often our reasons for choosing those things are so arbitrary. Oh, they're older than me. Oh, they're richer than me. Oh, they're smarter than me. These are not good reasons to treat someone with disrespect. And you yourself to be treated with disrespect. There was a time where Elon Musk was bullied. There was a time where Cyril Ramaphosa was not taken seriously in politics. There was a time where people who are successful and brilliant in any particular endeavor, and we all look up to them now, where they weren't taken seriously. Francois says, I experienced that whilst I was at Sabi Sands Reserve. Apparently you get a PhD in ecology when you buy a property there. Yeah, you see, somebody who's rich enough to buy a property in one of these places, suddenly they become like an expert on wildlife. And all the people who actually studied this stuff, it doesn't matter because these guys know because they've got the checkbook. They're the ones paying the bills, right? K&A says, this is right, money buys access, access buys power, power buys influence. And that is largely true. But we've got to reevaluate how we decide what we add value and respect. Respect is a difficult one. I've had so many arguments about respect with people because we all see respect in different ways. And really, your definition may be very different to mine. I don't think that there's a basic level of respect. Like you treat everybody equally. You treat everybody the same until they prove differently. That's basic respect. But then you get a level above that, which is, wow, I really respect that. I respect your decisions. I respect you as a person. I respect what you've gone through. And that requires a little bit more insight into the person. The basic human respect, I think we all get. You don't treat people like shit. And if you do treat people like shit, then you're going to be treated like shit too. But if you go beyond the basic level of respect, then there is the thing that I think most people confuse these two levels of respect. They expect one to be the other and the other to be the one that they're not thinking of. The basic human respect, like treat everybody the same, the homeless person, the president, the CEO, the car wash guy, treat them all with respect in terms of their basic humanity. That I think is essential. If you don't do that, you're a horrible person.
Yeah.
But then when you actually have a lot of respect for someone, that's like a layer on top of that. That's the next layer up. And that one's different. Everybody has different reasons for granting that. Some people will just do it because you're older or you're richer or you have a degree in something. And that's not always a good reason to do it. But then, who am I to say? Because you might like it more than you might have thought about it more than I have in that respect with that person. I shouldn't have used the word respect in that sentence. It's now really confused things.
So the baby's definitely crying. So I'm here to bid you adieu. But I'll leave you with this.
Mm-hmm.
If we can, you see, what we place money and power and this, I guess, automatic respect and automatic I'm better than you. If we can remove that from currently where it is, then I think faith in humanity will be restored. I worry a lot about how much emphasis we put on this bullshit and this and really the stuff that's fluff. Because again, if you remove that, what's left? If you remove all this money and you remove all these accolades and even, the dare I say the degrees and all this education that you receive, if we can remove all of that, then dude, what you're left with is who you really are. That is my parting word.
Yeah.
Enjoy the rest of the show. I'll be tuned in.
I like it. I'll keep arguing with what you've just said while you're away because you've got important mommy duties. All right, Lebang, we'll chat to you next week.
I'll see you guys next week. Cheers, guys.
Be good. We've got a guest joining us in a short while, but I just want to pick up on what Lebang said now. I mean, some people define themselves by those things. So you got to be careful. Yeah, someone's self-description, the way that they identify, to use like woke terminology. I identify as a student of philosophy, for example. To some people, that's the most important thing about them. And Jean says people would rather respect someone with money than someone with a PhD. Yeah, but there are some people who respect a PhD more than money. So again, depends who you're talking to, right, John? Ruth says we inherited this from the classification system. It shouldn't hold water today. A man should be judged on his actions and his behavior. I agree with that. Don't judge them by their words, judge them by their behavior. I think it's a very, very good way to look at the world. Sanela says, I use a simple concept. Race, color, age, class doesn't matter with me. I operate purely on mutual respect. I give as good as I get. It goes both ways, respect or disrespect. That's a pretty good philosophy. Respect them until they prove you wrong, says Stone Philosopher. It's just that word carries with it so much other stuff, and it does get very, very complicated. So speaking of people I respect and people who I'm interested in talking to, our guest this morning is somebody who is really awesome. I mean, I mentioned earlier, Himkaar Singh, an entrepreneur and engineer. We like to talk to young people on this show who are doing impressive things. And today's guest is just such a person. He's a recipient of the Forbes Africa 30 Under 30 award this year. He left South Africa during the recent water crises, not to avoid the problem, but to go and find a solution. I mean, in PE at the moment, you know that they're still dealing with this water crisis. So Himkaar went over and lived in Germany, Vietnam, and in Jordan to experience different extremes of water management while completing a master's degree in water management. He found what he thinks is one fundamental solution that we are slow to implement. So he came back to South Africa to start a business with a model to improve our soil's ability to hold water with a larger vision of regenerative agriculture as part of the picture. So I'm going to let him explain all of this to us. But he has this environmental initiative, which is called the Compost Kitchen, which he launched back in 2018. And he is now the winner of not only this Forbes Africa 30 Under 30 award, but also He's been placed on the United Nations list of the top 300 best practices on sustainability in the world just last year for this incredible discovery and invention of his. So, Himkaar, it's a great pleasure to have you on the show. How are you?
Thanks so much, Cliff Central, for having me. I'm doing very well. How are you doing?
Nice to see you, man. First of all, congratulations on all these accolades. I'm sure they're immensely deserved, and it's taken you a long time and a huge amount of thinking and effort to have got to this point. So well done. Bask in that glory for a second. It's terrific.
Yeah, thanks. The Forbes one is I'm particularly proud of because, in South Africa at this time, we're starting to feel a bit negative about how things are looking. But an award like this shows that there's still businesses that are innovating, they're still growing, they're navigating the challenges that are amongst us. So, I think it gives hope to South Africa, and I'm very proud to have obtained that for South Africa.
I think we need a lot of stories like yours, not only because it makes us feel better, but because it's actually starting to contribute to the world being a little bit more sensible and, a little bit more functional and efficient. And certainly that's what you've been doing. So first of all, Himkaar, it's not the most sexy subject in the world. So what got you interested in water management?
Yes, actually, in 2017, there was a very bad drought, right? That was when we were talking about day zero in Cape Town.
That's right.
And I thought back to my primary school days when I visited Rand Water, the water utility in Johannesburg, in must be grade 4. And they warned us that there would be water scarcity issues in the future if we didn't save water. So I thought in 2017, they knew about this 20 years ago. They warned me, but it still happened. So I felt like if we didn't do something, change whatever we were doing, then it's going to happen again and again in the future until we just can't live in South Africa anymore. So that's why I decided to leave the country to find a solution.
So tell me about these countries that you decided to go to. I mean, Jordan is an interesting one, Vietnam. Tell me what you discovered in these places.
Yeah, so Germany is where the degree was based because Germany is a master of water management. Netherlands and Germany are very good at water management. And so I lived in Germany for 5 months and I picked up, they are very good with project management and technology in managing their water. And they also, I was picking up puzzle pieces along the way. I didn't yet know my solution at the end or while I was doing it until the end. But I observed that they have an organic waste collection system for their waste. So you can't throw your organic waste, your food waste, in the normal bin. The garbage collection won't take it if you do that. So I observed that system was possible, for the first time. And then in Vietnam, I also lived there for 5 months. And I observed that, their problems have water excess. They have flooding, a lot of excess rain. And that washes a lot of pollution into the water channels. So they have a problem with the water quality. And so I connected waste and water through that experience. And also, while I was walking to my university every day, I would walk past the dumpsters, and there would be about 50 to 60% food waste. So, I was observing what quantity or what we're actually doing as a society in terms of food waste. And then in Jordan's a water scarce country. They have about a tenth of the water we have, but they actually have some of the best soil in the world if they were to put organic matter back in the soil. And if they did that, they could become an agricultural powerhouse of that region, which would stabilize the region a bit. But
have they already done some of that in Israel, for example? I mean, it's just down the road, basically. And Israel's managed to recycle water. They managed to make fertile soil out of desert. And so it's possible for Israel. It's possible for Jordan.
It's absolutely possible. And that's when I picked up that the importance of organic matter in the soil. The organic matter is what makes the soil act like a sponge. So it holds onto the water when the rain comes. But in South Africa, we're finding that when the rain comes, the water just runs away very quickly, right? But it never used to be like that. It always used to infiltrate into the ground and come out again in rivers. So what we need to be doing is putting the organic matter back into the soil. And I just collected all the systems that I experienced and then developed what we have now.
I love this. All right, so tell us now about this plan of yours, the compost kitchen, and how it works, because this is also about putting the organic stuff back into the soil, making the soil richer, at the same time able to absorb the water. I mean, many of us live in cities, we live in towns. It's very difficult for us to have a huge amount of space, and we don't think about things like, the soil health. And I remember learning about this stuff at high school, but I haven't thought about it much since then. So tell us about your initiative, how it fits into all of that, and what basic stuff we may have forgotten or what we need to learn about soil and about water and about how we can manage both better.
I think maybe what we've forgotten is that two pumpkins are not the same. One grown in this farm is different to another one grown at home. Yes. And that's because of the conditions in which it grows, which mainly is impacted by its soil. So the healthier your soil, the healthier your food will be, and then the healthier your body will be. So I've always been focusing on health, and I've experimented with, if I grow my own food, what does it do to my energy levels and my feeling of life? And there's definitely a difference. So, we're trying to encourage people to remember, if you want to make it easier to grow organic, just take care of your soil. It becomes very easy after that.
All right, but explain to us your compost initiative. How does that fit into all of these things?
Yeah, so in Johannesburg, we collect food waste from households, and then on a weekly basis, and then we recycle it into a compost called vermicompost. Vermicompost is very high quality compost made by earthworms, and then we give the vermicompost back to customers at the end of the month, and they can use that in their vegetable garden. And customers pay about 200 Rand a month for that service. And then secondly, a second model, which we've just introduced towards the end of last year, we've been going 3 years. We've got a composting machine because we've got many customers who aren't in our collection zone who want to compost. So the machine is, you just put your food waste in the machine, you press on, and then in 5 hours, it turns it into a compost that you can bury in your soil. So that's being very popular at the moment.
Where do you get the earthworms?
You can buy them from us.
Oh, wow. Okay. So how does it work? Do I walk into your facility, your shop, your place, and I can buy a tub of earthworms, or I can get my soil back after I've given it to you? How exactly does it work? I need to understand how do I arrive with a wheelbarrow full of soil? Explain it to me like I'm an idiot, because I am.
Well, we go door to door and we collect the waste from you. Okay. Then at the end of the month, we give you the vermicompost in a bag. So if you want worms to do your own vermicomposting, we sell them for 350 Rand for 1,500 worms.
It's amazing. And are you farming these somewhere else?
Yes, we have about 1 million earthworms in stock.
That's incredible. I mean, are there people who were doing this before, or is this entirely a novel and original concept?
There were many people doing different aspects of what we're doing. For example, many people were doing vermicompost, many were doing compost, many were doing waste collection, but nobody put them all together in the model that we created, where we collect from the household, we make vermicompost, and we give the vermicompost back. That was the first in the world that we came across. And the reason was because in South Africa, we've sensed that there was a low trust in the recycling industry, because there's been many stories of the recycling not reaching the recycling plant. So by giving the vermicompost back, we prove that it's been recycled, and that makes people more likely to pay for the service.
So what if I have I've got this one part of my garden that's a disaster at the moment. I don't know what to do with it. I'm going to try and grow some stuff in it, but the soil's not so great. Do you come with a truck and collect that and then charge me per cubic meter of soil? And then you bring it back for me a couple of days later, and you bring me the nice soil, and then I can grow stuff in it. How do you charge? What would that cost? Or do you just do the smaller kind of urban, pot plant stuff?
That's a great idea. We haven't thought of that before. But we sell compost in bulk as well.
Okay, so what, like bags?
Bags and big loads, bucky load at once. It's big pile. And then you can mix that in your soil and fix your soil in situ. And then you can start planting from there.
Brilliant. And you have the worms included in that?
We don't include it, but we can talk.
I love it. This is business. This is beautiful. Himkaar, so how's the business going? Are you guys making some money yet?
Yeah, we're doing fine. It's just that during load shedding, we were struggling a bit because the sentiment was really low, especially because of our new product is an electronic product, right? So people are hesitant to buy more electronic products during load shedding time. But then we just asked our customers, what exactly are you feeling? And they just told us they're not sure how much energy it uses. So we just made it clear on our website. We changed the website a little bit, 0.7 kilowatt hours. That's about R1 worth of electricity. And then people were, really, it's an insignificant amount of energy. So, sales have been up since then.
Carl wants to know, please ask your guest if he knows about boxy bins. I create fertilizer using all our food waste and I use it in my garden. Boxy bins, are you aware of these?
Bokashi, yes. Yes, I'm aware.
Sorry.
It's a system of fermenting your food waste. It's been quite fashionable these days. I think I've tried it, but I've never been able to have it not smell. It's not supposed to smell, but I've tried everything and it always smells. So we didn't really go that route. We believe the solution is technology. You just have to use technology to fast forward some of the processes to avoid the stink, to avoid any flies, liquid. And so we're focusing on technology now.
Is it easier to do the soil stuff? Is it easier to improve the quality of your soil in the winter or the summer? When's the best time to do it? Or does it not matter?
It depends what we're doing. There's different types of improvement we can do. Some we can mix organic waste into the soil. That you typically only do once, and then after that, after the first rain of the season, you're supposed to put mulch. Mulch is like shredded up garden waste that covers the soil. It's like wood chips.
Yes.
And because you're not actually supposed to ever see the soil. In a natural forest, you don't see soil. It's always covered by what's called the litter layer, the leaves, the twigs.
That's right.
And so after that, every season you would just put mulch. You wouldn't need to put compost every season, except if you've got a lawn. You do need to put compost every year for that.
Do you think part of our problem in South Africa is that we don't actually look after the surface stuff? We get so much that's paved and tarred, and water just has nowhere to go. I often look at our stormwater drain situation in South Africa, and I look at roads, and whenever it rains more than say 50 mils in a given space of time, it just creates these huge. It turns our roads into rivers, and then those roads empty into the stormwater drain system, which is sometimes blocked up or is sometimes overwhelmed. And there's just nowhere for this water to go because everything is paved and tarred. Do you think that that's a major problem in urban areas? And that's part of the reason that we have so much flash flooding and so many people who live in places where, rivers overflow and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think we've forgotten the value of soil. The value of soil there's so many benefits in soil. But we've come to see it as a bit dirty and not really understanding what it can do for us. And I definitely think it's an increasing problem. I think we can probably agree it's getting worse and worse. And that also probably means that it used to be better and better. It used to be not such a big problem. And that means we're increasing that problem. We're doing something that's causing that problem.
Yeah.
One could also say it's climate change, but the rate at which it's happening is so fast that it's more likely the behavior that we have with soil. And it's just because we don't understand soil yet. But we're finding that that's reversing. It's becoming very aware. People are becoming aware now of soil. Their health is definitely being impacted by all kinds of things in their lifestyle, and they're looking for solutions on that. And naturally, soil always comes up in a solution about health somehow. It's always the fundamental.
So what's next for you? I mean, you've done all these impressive things already. How old are you, by the way?
30. I was 29 when I got the Forbes 30 under 30.
Just made it. You just made it.
Yeah.
All right. So 30 years old, you've got this business. It seems that you've got everything sorted out. The future is looking very bright for you. But what's next? Where do you take it from here?
We're experiencing a lot of interest for our iCompost device. That's the name of the machine in Europe. Maybe more interest than in South Africa.
Oh, really?
And so we might look at exporting there or setting up a factory there. But that's very difficult. I'm not a businessman. I only know water. So to understand how to set up an operation like that, I need partners, and that takes a while to develop. So yeah, towards the end of next year, end of this year, we'll be looking to expand our operations.
Well, Himkaar, it sounds to me like you're on the right trajectory, and it sounds like you've got some incredible ideas. I hope that we will see you succeed in wild and incredible ways going forward. Well done to you. This is tremendous stuff, and I'm glad that we've got people like you working on solutions. We talk about climate change, we talk about the environment, but it's people like you figuring things out for us at this kind of level that starts to make the change that can eventually lead to all kinds of incredible strides forward. So, as I said at the beginning, we are placing our hopes for the future in ideas and in people like you. So well done. It's really a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right. Very, very good. Nice to see you, Himkaar. There's that's Himkaar Singh. He's just incredible. I mean, wow, what a story, huh? He's worked on this compost, so you can buy worms. You can have soil compost delivered. I mean, it's brilliant, and I mean, it's not completely revolutionary, but it's bringing back ideas that we know work. And he's been looking at countries that have very little water, countries that have a lot of water, countries that have extremely fertile soil, and others that are quite arid. And it seems to me like if you look after what you've got, and if you put the right stuff in and you take the wrong stuff out, you can make it all better. It sounds obvious, but you can also make your immediate environment that much more healthy and maybe contribute to the good rather than the bad. All right, so Carl says he's got one of these bokashi bins things, and he doesn't have any smell in there. No meat, no onions, no smell at all. Well, what do you put in there? Just the vegetable waste? I mean, I've walked past a rubbish bin or two if it's been standing there for more than 4 or 5 days, especially in the summer, and you know all about it. So you gotta tell us what you put in there. Myco root for your soil will give all the microbial mycorrhizal fungi. I'm sure that's wrong. Corona's boring, but I'll take your word for it. I've just realized I've been calling you Bokang Hosana all morning. I have no idea why. I apologize, Lebang. I've had my coffee now. Don't worry, Sanela. It's absolutely fine. Cat feces. All Lady 1000 says, does cat feces have a negative effect on the composition of the soil in my garden, and how can I improve it? I'm pretty sure cat feces has a negative effect on everything it touches. Yuck. V. Ruiz says, Gareth, I don't mean to scare you, but the books over your left shoulder are not in height order. What? Left shoulder? Oh, I know that. Yeah, I'm very well aware of that. Don't worry. There's a system. Trust me. Steve says, put the right stuff in, pull it out, shake it all about. Yeah, I know where you're going with that. Thank you very much. What a great Soil-ution, says Derek. Dun, 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 dun. Very good. Well, we've had a busy morning. We had Jaco on. Lebang and I spoke about pretty much everything involving banyana, corruption, misinformation, disinformation. It's been a very busy start to the day. Carl says, Gareth, yes, you can put all vegetable waste, eggshells, coffee grounds, etc. It's great. It's inexpensive. Okay. Well, I mean, listen, I've got a little bit of space outside my kitchen that is just a disaster at the moment. It's mostly just it's like a courtyard for rubbish. So, all the ash from the fire, all the soil that I can't find another place for, rocks that I've found in the garden, old bits of crap that I find lying around, it all goes into there. And if I just put in some effort and maybe created a little compost bin type thing, maybe I could make it useful finally. I'll have to see. You've inspired me a little bit, Carl, and I hate to say that because usually you're the one who is swearing at me in the morning. So I'm going to have to get out there and get going with that at some point. But not today. No, today I have a whole lot of meetings and important things to achieve. Not that composting isn't important. I mean, Himkaar taught us that, if nothing else. But yeah, we'll see what we can do about that. I've got to get stuck in. There are a couple of things that I've I've put off for such a long time. First of all, because obviously they cost money, but second of all, I know some of these projects, once you get into them, becomes a little bit obsessive, and then you want to do it right. So I'm going to be the first to make the change. Like I said to Lebang earlier, with that friend of hers who wasn't being respected by the family, you have to make the change. So if I'm going to talk about, these great people who are doing these great things like Himkaar is, trying to make the world a better place one step at a time, I got to do it too. Single people don't create enough waste unless you're very domesticated. That's what Steve says. I don't make a whole lot of mess. I mean, I don't throw out a lot of rubbish. If I compare the amount of rubbish that leaves my house to the amount that leaves my neighbors' houses, and they mostly have kids, and then I think I'm probably doing less to fill up the earth with crap. But who knows? Some days I might be worse than them. Who can tell? How quickly can one of these things decompose a body? I'm asking for a friend. All right, now we're going to have to put you on the watch list, Virus. That's unfortunately proof that you're a nutcase. So we're going to have to put you on there. All right, everybody. Have an awesome day today. We will be back tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock, bright and early, with a whole lot more. It is a Wednesday, so we've got Simpiwe, and we've got a special guest joining us. And then, of course, the Burning Platform on Thursday morning. Just quickly before I go, I was watching the TV news last night. Try to do that at least once or twice a week. And I saw that the city of Cape Town is trying to get off the grid. They're going to make themselves completely independent of Eskom. That's the plan anyway, going forward, which I think is absolutely fantastic. So I put out a thing on Instagram saying, well done, city of Cape Town. Screw Eskom. If we can all get away from them, that's very good. That's one reason, by the way, that I think so many people want to move to Cape Town. Because if Cape Town figures this out and they end up doing a really clever job of buying electricity back into the grid, for example, I think that'll make it one of the places in South Africa, if not the world, that people will want to migrate to. And the genius behind this is the mayor of Cape Town, Jordan Hill-Lewis, who we're actually going to get on the show at some point, because I mentioned it and I thought this is a guy to talk to. And luckily he contacted us, so he'll be on the show at some point soon, where he will be able to tell us how they came up with the idea and what they're going to be doing. I think it'll be awesome. All right, lots of good stuff on the way in the rest of your day today, including Catalytics Unbundled with Jaco, who was on our show just a bit earlier. Don't go anywhere. There's plenty to keep you entertained, amused, enthralled, informed, empowered, and inspired. That's what we do. We will see you tomorrow.